Tom Cruise did not hang off the side of an airplane for you to stay home this summer. You got to get off the couch. You can't stream this. Go see it in IMAX. It is the 8th and theoretically last Mission Impossible movie. It's Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. They're just going to leave Dead Reckoning Part 1 hanging out there in the wind, for all of eternity.
It's the final reckoning.
Do-do-do-do. Yeah, come hang out with us. Come subscribe. It's summer and we are here for you. This is a spoiler-free review of this movie. This is super early. It does not come out until May 23rd, but the embargo is up, so we want to get this to you as fast as we possibly could. So subscribe so you did not miss a thing. Alonzo, what happens in this crazy movie?
Our lives are the sum of our choices. This is your calling. Your destiny.
Well, a quick reminder, our definition of what constitutes a spoiler and your definition of what constitutes a spoiler may be different. So if you don't want to know anything, maybe watch this later. And if you are watching this, don't bitch at us later about how we spoiled stuff, because we're going out of our way not to spoil things.
We are. We do try. We really do.
Yes. So we pick up a month after Dead Reckoning Part 1 ends. The world is in chaos. The AI entity is taking over our news media and the internet as we know it, and even most of the nukes. And so it's very, very touch and go. And of course, it's a Mission Impossible movie, so we open with a message that will self-destruct, telling Ethan, turn yourself in, give us the cruciform key that we spent all of the last movie chasing, because we've got to stop this thing. This becomes the first of many times over the course of this movie that we will be told that Ethan is A, entirely to blame for everything that's happening right now, and B, the only person who can save us. So if you're an attention junkie, what better place is there to be? But Ethan is an attention junkie and an adrenaline junkie. And so, he's going to get the team together and maybe throw some new people in there. And they're going to go to all the places, to the bottom of the ocean and up in the sky and in the middle of a mountain, to get the thing to the place and the other thing that connects to the other thing so they can stop it's a Mission Impossible movie. And it's a really fun one. We did watch it in IMAX and it was worth it. If you have the chance to do that, because Christopher McQuarrie is directing again. All stops are pulled out, and how much of Tom Cruise's stunt work is Tom Cruise? Who knows? Who cares? It's thrilling no matter how it's happening, and this movie is very much one of those franchise films that is not necessarily expecting you to be up on all of the films, but is certainly going to reward you for recognizing things. They're dragging all the way back to number 1 here. To 96, we're getting stuff that is like surprise revelations about stuff that happened, when Clinton was in office, So it's that kind of, ostensible cap off to the series. But it's really entertaining. I did not find myself getting bogged down in the minutia of this thing from that other movie turns out to be this other thing in this movie that's going to matter in this way. I just kind of went with it. And if you just go with it, there's a lot here in terms of action movie thrills, a staggeringly overqualified cast. When you've got a room full of people like Angela Bassett and Janet McTeer and Nick Offerman, and you're like, and you're here to stare at screens and talk about this? Like, okay, sure, why not?
They're the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Give them credit. Charles Parnell's in there. Holt McCallany.
No, it's like wow. What else could we be doing with all of you on one set? This is a movie that on the one hand is very much tied into things that are happening right now, like the villain is an AI, and it's going to consume everything in its path. But at the same time, this is utter nonsense, and everything is, split second timing and impossible odds. And, as we said in our Out of the Theater, it's always on the verge of being mission ridiculous, but it never quite goes that far with it. And so you just enjoy watching these characters do their jobs well and teetering on the edge. We get some new folks here. Tramell Tillman from Severance pops up as a very memorably as a sub commander. Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso with an American accent. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
No, not okay. A criminal waste of Hannah Waddingham. They made her
Look,
American and boring.
It's a check for Hannah Waddingham. I'm not going to begrudge her that. Of course, there's globetrotting, and of course, there's twists and duplicitous spy things and hairbreadth escapes. But I was always having a good time.
Yeah, I found it quite exhausting after a while.
Okay.
And it's really, really fun, but this more than ever feels like they concocted 2 or 3 really insane set pieces and then like built the script around it, right?
Sure.
Like, and they go on way too long. Like there's an underwater thing that is exquisitely shot. If you can see this in IMAX, it really pays off because some of these scenes here are the ones where like it does, like the aspect ratio does pop open to IMAX and it's incredible to look at. But like that one goes on too long. The one that is like the signature image of the film of Tom Cruise hanging off of this yellow airplane, that goes on way too long. Like, how do they even let Tom Cruise do half of the things that he's purported to be doing here himself? Increasingly with these movies, the point of it is making sure that we know that Tom Cruise himself is the one doing these things. And that can be exciting and it can create a certain amount of like suspense because, shit, it's really Tom Cruise. But it gets insane in the service of that notion. And I feel like it just drags on and on and on and on and on. This movie is 2 hours and 49 minutes long. They keep getting longer. The first one was 1 hour and 49 minutes long. That's a good length for a Mission Impossible movie. And that's still a pretty good one looking back at it.
Sure.
Fallout is still my favorite.
Okay.
Fallout's the one that really balances the big thrills with emotional stakes better than any of the other ones. And I love that whole Henry Cavill bathroom brawl thing.
Sure.
I loved Dead Reckoning. I went back and looked at our review of the first Dead Reckoning, and that was a blast.
Yeah.
And this just feels overstuffed, even beyond what you might want from a Mission Impossible movie. So much of this feels like a victory lap. You need to, but the whole opening of it is like this supercut of Tom Cruise running or a supercut of Tom Cruise hovering over things. This is a Mission Impossible movie that knows it's a Mission Impossible movie and it'll pay off if you care about all this stuff. The people who are going to be psyched for this want to revel in the lore of it. It does feel rather self-congratulatory in that regard.
But I think that the supercut, while it does, yes, sort of, there is something victory lapish about it. At the same time, it is Tom Cruise showing you, this is what I looked like in 1996. And here's me now. I am not that guy anymore. I am weathered. Ethan Hunt is weathered. Ethan Hunt has faced off 3 decades worth now of challenges. I'm a little, thicker. I'm a little puffier. I'm not the guy hanging from the ceiling in the first movie. And I thought that was kind of bold. I think a lot of actors would be hesitant to remind people about the passage of time in that way. And because this is it is a Tom Cruise production, as we're told at the very beginning, like he does not just idly sign off on that kind of thing. So to me, it kind of brought a certain sense of heft to go from those old clips to then seeing him now. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, time has passed. This character has endured a lot. And so has this actor, and so that to me, I don't know, it gave it a little bit of heft that might not have otherwise been there. And as for the undersea thing, at first I was kind of like, all right, well, we've seen Tom Cruise do this. We've seen other movies do this, but then it builds and builds. And before I knew it, I was like, oh my God, I was grabbing onto the armrest because, it's like a submarine and there's all these missiles lying around. And then like, it's not on secure, footing in the sand. And it's just like, the things just kept ratcheting up and I was holding my breath. And so was
Tom Cruise.
Exactly. Yes. So I was impressed by how they kind of choreograph that out and the editing and the way they sort of play that moment to go from sort of standard action movie to like, I've never seen this in an action movie,
Yeah, no, it is very, very stressful. And you mentioned the editing. There's a couple of really great sequences where it's like cutting between two different things, whether it's like a fight here and a fight there in totally different places with totally different people. There's a great segment here where like they're laying out the game plan of, okay, here's what we're going to do. But one person's beginning the sentence and the person on the other end of it's ending the sentence. And that all moves really, really well. It's the same editor who's done the past couple of ones. So that is really effective. Yeah, I mean, but this is a 2 hour, 49-minute long movie that feels like it, whereas the previous one, which was only a couple minutes shorter, zipped by. And I think so much of it is repetitive stuff, like showing you, oh, look, here's this person from that thing. And in case you didn't catch it, we're going to show that person to you again. You know, it's the thing that you hate, Alonzo, where like they refer to a thing and then they keep showing it to you over and over again in case you weren't paying attention.
Yeah, look, there's definitely like a conversation or two that happens 3 or 4 times in this movie where it doesn't need to. There were moments where I was like, yes, I get it, for the people that we care about and the ones we'll never meet. Like they say that thing so many times, and there's a big closing speech that I think is supposed to be a lot more moving than it is, but it feels again like this rehash of stuff. So yes, it's not perfect, and it's not, you know, there are some, is this 2 hours and 49 minutes that you could not trim? No. But was I mentally looking at my watch? Also no. So I mean, I agree with you. Like this is not as, it's not a tight operation, but I also didn't think it was a slog.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't ask for restraint in my maximalism, right? This is a losing prospect for me here. But yes, the speech that Tom Cruise gives at the end is these like really revered, like hushed tones. Like it's so somber and so self-serious for a movie that is crazy summer spectacle.
And based on a TV show about spies.
Right. It's a lot of very serious stuff does happen. There are lots of like in dark rooms, very serious conversations about like the fate of the planet, like deathly serious stuff. And so I don't know that they always balance that tone all that well. But I do think you should see it. Despite my reservations and despite my complaints, like if you love this series and you love this kind of big summer spectacle, and this is the reason that you go to the movies. This is why Tom Cruise makes this kind of movie.
Sure.
It's for you to go and see it, to save cinema. He can only save cinema so many times. So please, you know, he showed up for you. Show up for him. Yes, real fast, Tramell Tillman, holy shit, give him his own movie. He is charismatic as hell. I've never seen it before. Beautiful, incredible delivery, so much presence. I don't watch Severance, so I didn't know who he was. I'm like, who is this person?
I saw a couple of Severances and it never grabbed me, but I just did randomly see him in this rom-com on Max with Kiernan Shipka called Sweethearts, where he and Joel Kim Booster play a gay couple, a football coach and a fireman in a small town in Ohio. But yeah, in this movie, he is a star.
Right.
Like for sure, like either spin off his sub captain into his own thing, or just put him in some cool movies. But Hollywood, you have your marching orders. Do something with this guy and give him the platform he deserves.
Yes. So we're pondering a spoiler conversation down the road. This movie comes out May 23rd, Memorial Day weekend. So we're pondering maybe that Tuesday after. If that interests you, let us know. We'll try and figure out a day to make that happen. But for now, I'm going to say from 1 to 10, I will give this like a 7.6, 7.8.
That's pretty much where I am also.
Really?
Like,
okay.
Yeah, this is another one of those, we're having a heated agreement.
In the middle.
Because like, I think you're right. There are, it's not perfect, and it is definitely treading into some areas where it's been before, and then just sort of like goosing it or making it larger or whatever. But I think a 7.8 is a solid summer movie, and worth the IMAX. If you have to pay an uptick, you'll get your sensations worth.
Okay, will you accept this mission? Let us know.